We're really excited about this video. It's a question we get asked a lot. What are the top 5 best piano albums?
It's a sticky situation, man.
Stick around.
Hi, this is Ted with Alamo Music Center in downtown San Antonio, Texas.
I'm Patrick Marr. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our YouTube channels, check out our other videos, sign up for notifications, like our videos, leave us comments. We appreciate your support and we love to interact with you. What did you say to me when I said this is the video we're doing? You had a look of dread.
I got stressed out because I thought I can't narrow down 5 albums.
You were like, I need a month to prepare.
I needed to prepare, and we just can't go in there and do that. I mean, and I'm thinking, man, just pick 5 albums. But then see, I classified my own pick. Solo piano.
And I didn't ask you to do that.
And you didn't ask me to do that. But when you say top 5 albums, because I'm always assuming that someone is out there practicing piano by themselves without a band, dreaming of either writing, performing, or playing their song, someone else's song, either solo or in an ensemble. Piano players spend a lot of time alone practicing. Mm-hmm. That's why they make them with headphones now. I don't want to hear it. You practice all you want. Put your headphones on, distract yourself, blow out your eardrums, leave me watch my game. So it's different now because it's personalized. But for me, it's still always the pleasure of just a piano on a stage with an audience and one person playing solo piano.
Okay, well that's your criteria. My criteria
for this video, that's my criteria.
For my criteria, it was what are, in my opinion, the most influential on me, because that's the only way I can speak, with any authority. Is what has influenced me the most.
I don't have any authority. I have a preference for
not authority.
Jazz ensemble, pop, vocal. Pop. I mean, to me, this topic, there's at least 20 to 30
there's
different
no wrong answers
five lists, right? So there's no wrong answers.
Now that we've prefaced that, I think on my list, it's more of, mine are going to be more, that pop rock piano that everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people enjoy and think of when they think, oh, he's a pianist. And, the piano man's a pianist, right?
Right.
So, okay, so we'll start at number 5 on our list. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, mine are in no order. They're just, but after I say all that about solo piano, and the first one, if we start with number 5, is an ensemble, because there's not solo piano on it. It's Joe Sample's Rainbow Seeker.
Sample's Rainbow Seeker.
Joe Sample, the album was Rainbow Seeker, one of the most influential albums in my life, mostly because he focused on playing grand piano and writing music for the grand piano that is in the jazz, fusion, contemporary style. Okay. This album came out in the late 70s.
My number 5 will be Ben Folds Live. So, started as Ben Folds 5, a really cool kind of 3-piece fuzz bass, drums, and piano. I would say it was like the resurgence of, that classic Billy Joel, Elton John.
No, that was a job requirement for me to come back to work for you, is I had to listen to Ben Folds.
I know. So Ben Folds Live is, a couple years after Ben Folds 5 dissolved. But it's him and a piano, and it's him performing, and it's really a great live recording of some really, really cool songs throughout his discography. But it was recorded well. It came out in the early 2000s, but I would say that is my number 5.
It's inspiring to songwriters
and
performers.
And he does Tiny Dancer. He does a cover of Tiny Dancer on that, but mostly all of his originals. And it really is just like rock and roll piano. He's playing I think a 9-foot Baldwin on stage. Mm-hmm. That was his preferred instrument for a very long time. So just
until he had those 2 made for him, and he got to pick one, and he lost it in Katrina, right?
Well, no, that was the Nashville flood of 2011, 2010, 2000, whenever that was.
His personalized piano.
I know. So that would be my number 5. Number 4 on your list. What?
Number 4 on my list is George Winston's album December.
Gotta look at my list.
And that album came out in the end of the 70s. And it hit really big in the early 80s. And just through that record label, Windham Hill, and that one album, George Winston kind of opened up the door to a new genre of music that he didn't peg. Someone pegged New Age. That was the beginning of New Age. That was a guy playing his original piano pieces or his interpretive classical pieces in a different way on solo piano, where the piano was recorded at 30 IPS, which is blowing a lot of tape for a solo piano recording back before there was digital.
Are all these perfect 10s for you, all these albums? On a scale from 1 to 10, they're perfect 10s?
Yeah, for what they did in terms of the artist displaying his artistry and then also having a major impact on a lot of piano players.
My number 4, I would say, is on a lot of people's list as one of those top 10 albums, or a perfect 10 album, not a top 10 album. Tapestry.
Oh, yeah.
Carole King. And what's really neat is to go back and listen to, they've released some of her demos by herself.
I have. I listened to all the remastered. Well, they're coming out with a package, I think.
They do. It's just, it's incredible. It's her and a piano, and like, let's record it. And originally it was for her to send off and say, hey, does your artist want to record these songs? Because she was a writer. But then when she did Tapestry, it was her coming to and saying, I'm a performer as well. And
that artist, that not so much that her saying she's a performer. That's really like, this is an artist's art.
Yes.
And it's hard. That album is so much more than just her songwriting and performing. That album is the sound of Laurel Canyon, period, of that time frame. And up until then, there were people that were aiming for that solo album that could encapsulate all those musicians living around in there and all of that mindset.
Early 70s.
Early 70s, to where you didn't really have... You were just getting that nice blend of electric guitars with acoustic guitars on an acoustic-based kind of pop setting, and it was just a gorgeous sound.
And the piano shines on it too,
even though it's... That was the first album to come out that was like that.
And really a well-balanced, produced album. So that's going to make my number 4 on the list. What's your number 3?
My number 3 is the Köln concert by Keith Jarrett. And I really enjoyed that, and I enjoy all of the stories that go with it, that the piano wasn't that great of a performing instrument. It happened to be tuned okay, and he played on it. But what I loved about that is when that album came out, the recording quality and all that is great, but it was known that he was going out there really without an itinerary or an agenda. He went out there based on mood and played to the house. And that's why that album, to me, was very important for a pianist.
Okay. Number 3 on my list, I was letting you know what my list was, and you said, hey, that's not fair. That's not purely piano, or that there's not
there's no rules. I mean,
so Headhunters, I believe, belongs on the list.
It does.
It's just one of the most, that early 70s vibe again. But when you hear it for the first time, it's just as good as when you hear it for the 100th time. It's particularly, it opens up with Watermelon Man?
Chameleon.
Chameleon, okay. Wow, yeah.
He's got a different version of Watermelon Man that he put on there, which is really cool. It's an updated version for him, because originally, I think that was probably about the 10 or 12 year mark from when the original recording was. So he had a new outtake on it.
So Herbie Hancock, I feel like, there's not a lot of piano on it, but there's a lot of keys and a lot of electric pianos, a lot of early synth stuff. Just I would say a very cool experimental album. So that's my number 3, Herbie Hancock's Headhunters.
That was a major influence for the next. It took almost 15 to 20 years for sounds of that album to really make it into where it's getting sampled and reused as hip hop and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
It was that album's hit on a lot, but I also like that same sound of bass drums, acoustic drums with the electronic. That's kind of fed back and forth between Stevie and a lot of other funk music at that time because of analog synths.
Yeah. Okay. So what's number 2 on your list?
Number 2 on my list is an album that I always go back and listen to, and I watch now because you can get it on streaming. And there's more than one version of it, which is what I like, but it's still the same recording of Glenn Gould's Goldberg Variations. And he's touched on that a couple of times. That is initially the album that made his career and put him on the classical pianist map with the sawed-off bench and all that. And it was a great sounding recording at that time. And since he's redone it, where they're played a little bit slower and they're played a little different. So I don't know if those 2 or 3 albums can count as one, but it's
We'll let it slide.
It's pretty much his entire career.
There's no rules here. Number 2 on mine is, and we went through a couple of his albums to figure out which one we wanted to do, but Honky, Château, Elton John, I feel like is the one that was most influential on me. Again, I think it's one that encapsulates peak Elton John. You know, this is right in the run where he was releasing like two albums a year. It was like, and you just a lot of like he was just blossoming. You know, it's like just projecting all his music out for the world with no hesitation.
That was my first Elton John album I owned. I sought out to get a copy of it based on when Rocket Man came out. Mm-hmm. And I think someone else had released their version of Honky Cat, kind of like a show tune version, right? Maybe even before his album came out. That song had been picked up for, I don't know, someone, a female singer dancer tap danced with it and stuff like that. And there was a guy that tap dances on that album too. But that is one of the most singer-songwriter influential album in my life was that one, because I really love his piano solos on that album. His songwriting on there was just really wonderful.
He doesn't hold back at all, which is
not
cool.
At all.
So Honky Château is number 2. All right, number 1, we'll get to it. What's your number 1 album?
My favorite Beethoven, Vladimir Horowitz. Okay. It has that
Horowitz,
real sophisticated album cover. Everyone's seen it. He took a folding wooden chair and sat in front of a bush outside his apartment in Central Park, and his wife took a picture. That was the most recognized Horowitz album of just about all time, but it had all his favorite Beethoven pieces on there, which aspiring pianists were learning. And at the time I was, 11, 12 years old, that was one of my favorite albums.
Okay. Number 1 for me, I had to do it. Honestly, it's a toss-up. It's like a coin. It's like the heads and tails. I'm gonna put Nylon Curtain, Billy Joel.
Over the Stranger.
Over the Stranger. It's a heads and tails. I have The Stranger written first as my number 1 album because I just think every song on that is home run. But my favorite Billy Joel songs are on Nylon Curtain. Laura, I think
You're a big John Lennon fan.
I'm a big John Lennon fan, and so
is Billy Joel.
And so you can hear it in Laura on Nylon Curtain. But that's The Stranger and Nylon Curtain. If you've never heard them, all the way through, start to finish, are they're much more.
They flow so well.
You feel who the man of Billy Joel is, much more past the Piano Man. All the stuff that you really hear from Billy Joel on the radio. It doesn't do him justice sometimes, and
his hits aren't usually his
better songs.
More insightful better songs.
So that's our top 5. Make sure
we need theirs.
Yeah. Please make sure that you guys say, "Hey, you guys are idiots. Why did you leave off this? Why did you not talk about so and so?"
Oh, I know there's more than tons of stuff.
And this was off the sleeve. We were like, "Hey, what have we been listening to? What are our top albums? Please leave your top 5." Please, argue with people.
Make this interactive.
Yeah, argue with people in the comments section because we want to hear. We're going to make a definitive list once you guys leave some comments, and we'll come back and do a part 2 to make sure.
Definitive categories too.
Okay.
Okay. Because I have a top 5 in every single category.
And I cheated and just did poppy.
That was cool though. But I mean, there's so many inspirational, innovative players in great albums out there.
So please leave comments. We love to interact, and on this one, we're going to be, sparking discussion on what are those top albums and how can we listen to them more because they're great. Ted Barslew, I'm Patrick Marr. Thank you guys for watching.